So lately, all up and down my algorithms, I have been seeing women love on each other, and I get emotional every time I see it. I like when they're hugging or when they're hanging out and they're partying, if they're on the beach reading books together, traveling. I see it, and that's just I miss it. I miss my friends. I miss my girl cousins that I was so close with. But I had to go into isolation. I had to go into hermit mode because for a very long time I I was everywhere. I showed up to everything for my friends, for my family. Like I will host everything, and listen. And I loved being an auntie. I still love being an auntie, even though I have my baby. I was there wherever my friends needed me or my cousins. I was there, but I realized that it was like that became my life, just like being there for everybody and, being that protector with my mom's children. I'm the oldest and I protected the hell out of my brothers. For a long time, it was just me and my brother. We're only 3 years apart. And I don't care if he did it, you better not. Okay. And that was me. And I was the same way about my friends, especially my friends that they weren't confrontational like that. I wish you would. That was me and my cousins. I pull up. I used to fight their boyfriends. I remember I picked up a whole desk that we have in school that's connected with the chairs, them type of desks. Launched it. Cause don't put your hands on my cousin. That was me. But it was I didn't know who I was outside of that. I was just always, from the time I opened up my eyes, just go, 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 go. And then I would be in these jobs where I was in a leadership position. So it was like I was responsible for staff, and then I was responsible for the program that I was running. So if it was kids, I was responsible for the kids too. So any position that I was in, which 9 times out of 10 was a leadership position, I was responsible for taking care of so many people. And after a while, I was like, I have no idea who I am. And I always say that my son chose me so that I can wake up and remember who I am and get back to myself. So I miss my friends, I miss my cousins, and I love them so much. But I did not know who I was outside of taking care of all of them. And it made me bitter. It made me resentful because I felt like it gave them a head start, to excel, because I felt like me always worrying about them. I felt like I really couldn't focus in school. Even at home, I was a co-parent with my mom. And so a lot of times in class, I couldn't focus. And I love school. I love science. I love math. I love reading. But at school, you couldn't tell because I was so disruptive because it was just so much shit going on at home. And I feel like I missed out on a lot of stuff because of that, I wanted to run track, I wanted to wrestle, I wanted to box, but I was so busy, having to worry about home. And then I felt like I grew up fast. So it was like, I had a boyfriend at 14 and, I was just always up under my boyfriend when I should have been hanging out with my friends and, going to the basketball games or going to signing up for a track meet. It just felt like I just grew up, so fast and just didn't get to enjoy being a kid. And I felt like that's the advantage that a lot of my peers had over me because yeah, they may have dated and stuff like that, but it was like they still were able to focus in class because at home they didn't have to be the co-parent, and even though they had boyfriends, they still would go hang out with, each other. They would still go to basketball games. They would still go to the mall together. And it's not to say that I didn't do it with them sometimes, but it was just my focus was home and this boy. Yeah. Yeah. And even college, applied to college, applied to one school, got into that school. I had good grades because I got it together. I got it together in high school by sophomore, junior year. I got it together. And, I was able to go to college. But even when I got there, like my mom had my baby brother. And so now I'm helping my mom with my brother, but then I'm still in college and I'm trying to learn, but I'm not even fully present there. And then I meet my college boyfriend, and it's like I'm so occupied with that. And like again, like my friends, we're trying to do stuff together, but it's like I got one foot at home, I got one foot in this relationship, and then it's like I'm trying to be friends with my friends. Like I just always felt pulled in so many different directions, and I always struggle with my identity. On the outside, it may not have looked like that because girl, I'm a vibe, okay? But on the inside, I was struggling, like because I was just like I feel like I'm just here, like I'm a passenger in this vehicle, in this vessel, and I just I needed to meet me again. I needed to get reacquainted with that little girl that was always on punishment. So she was in that room making music. I wanted to be a DJ because I seen Angie Martinez. Well, not seen, but I heard her on the radio. And so I would like take some of my dad's old cassette tapes and I would record over them. And I would make my own radio show. I would be designing nails. I would be in there making dance routines. Like I would be in there having karaoke. Child, like I was just a vibe all on my own in my room, and I miss that. I miss that version of myself, and I wanted to do that again. Like I just wanted to be able to go back to that person. I think it started when I was really young, having to be everything for everybody. My mom had my brother when I was 3. I know that there was so much depth to me, right? But I struggled with that. And I feel like the only time I allowed those versions of me to come out was when I was like by myself. And like, and it was always like, who were you when you was in that room as a little girl? But on the outside, like to the outside world and to all my friends and my cousins, like whatever role I played in their life, like I would put those hats on and be that for them. And again, like I just felt like I was a passenger. I was a passenger. And I struggle with a lot of shame around being the person that I was growing up because I felt like some of my friends at the time were like very judgy of who I was. And it was like, if you only knew, like why I acted the way that I acted, and the secrets that I was carrying. And I remember a good girlfriend of mine saying to me, like, she was like, you are always yourself. Like no matter what, it's like what you see is what you get. And like that's what I like about you. And some of our other friends, they're not that. Like they don't like you, or they'll pick at you because you're not pretending, and they are. And that I kept that with me. As I've been in isolation, in hermit mode, going through this journey, whenever I'm starting to feel shame about showing up and being myself, like I just remember that my good childhood friend said that to me, like you're always yourself, like no matter what. And I think that's why, no, I know that's why when I see people on like in the spotlight, like somebody like a Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion, I thoroughly enjoy watching them because they're being themselves. Like, and I remember being like that, and like people turning their nose up at me, and like when you're so like sure of yourself, even if it is loud to others, like they judge you and like look at you in disgust. Sometimes it hurt my feelings. It would. And then sometimes I didn't care. Because it was like I don't know how else to be. I even remember in college, you know, being like not being welcomed in certain spaces because it was just like I'm being myself and you're not, and that's why you don't like me, you know. So I've just been sitting with all of what I shared, and there's a part of me that is like I'm scared to go back out there because after I went on my journey and I sat with Mother Ayahuasca for 2 years, and a lot of ego deaths. I know that I'm not the same person, and it's like when you wake up, you can't unknow shit, you know. I've always been pretty good at reading people and the energy in the room and everything, but I feel like now it's even more. And I used to feel like an outsider then, but I really feel like one even more now, knowing that I have went through some shit. Like I did. I have been in isolation for some years now. Even marrying a woman, like some of my friends and family was like, what? And then some of my friends and family was like, bitch, about time. Like, I just, you know, for a long time, like, I had to be what everybody wanted me to be. I remember coming out to my mom when I was 16. Now, let me say this. I was drinking with my cousins. Was it 151? I think it was 151. And I came home and I just was like drunk and I fell out on the kitchen floor and I was like, I'm gay. And my mother was like, girl, what? Like, just stressing that lady all the way out. We never talked about it again. Like, we never talked about that shit again. And I dated somebody for a little bit at that age. But then after that, it was kind of like, you know, it was back to men. And but I don't even know if I like thought about it for a while after that. No, I don't know. I do know. I like after it was just kind of like I did that then, and then it was just like, you know, back to men. And some years later, like I would go out and I would be hanging out with my friends, and the joke used to always be everybody know you gay when you drink. And I rolled with that joke for a minute, but the reality was like, I like girls. I'm attracted to girls, and more specifically, I'm attracted to the masculine presenting women. You know, I like the way that they dress, and I like that swag. Like I like that shit. Like y'all see my wife, I like that, and yeah, like that's, you know. But it's like when you grow up and, you know. My grandma was very accepting. I will say that because I remember she asked my cousin, she was like, do you got a boyfriend? And my cousin was like, Grandma, well, no, go ahead, Grandma. She was like, well, do you got a girlfriend? And it was like, if you do, you know, like Grandma love you. So my grandma was very, you know, open about that. But with my mom, now my mom and my wife, they like this. I always say my mama like my wife more than me, and that's okay. I think that for my mom, she was more worried about what people would think. And I felt that in her womb, her shame and her always worrying about what people think. And when I came into this world, I was very sure of myself. And for a long time, I did not care what people thought about me. My mom always said that I marched to the beat of my own drum, and I did. And my mouth was very slick. And so it was like when somebody would say something about me, like I would chew their ass up. And if they would keep on going, that's exactly why I see your mama coming out of my daddy room. Because I spent every weekend with my father. And I used to get up before everybody, and I used to be eating a big ass bowl of what was it, Captain Crunch and Frosted Flakes, and I used to be watching people mama do the walk of shame. So if you want to keep on going with these jokes, you go right ahead, because I got a whole bunch for you, okay? But I was very sure, like I was very sure of myself, you know. I was very comfortable. I wore whatever I wanted to wear, and people would make fun of me, and I would just say shit back to them. But it, after a while, like, I think that if I would have moved away, I would have continued to be that free wild spirit. But staying home and working at a job where, even though I came in there with that personality, like, once I like stepped away, I felt so drained. Like, and interestingly enough, like, me being that light, I watch people around me that I work with. I watched them siphon my light and siphon my, and I watched it. I watched it. See, one thing about people in general that march to be their own drum, like, if you just pay attention to the people around you, like, a lot of times they be hating on you because they want to do exactly what you're doing, right? And so what I noticed is, if I would wear certain things, wear my hair a certain way, like, I started to pay attention to the way the women around me started showing up, because every time I came to work, you could not tell me I wasn't on somebody's runway. You cannot tell me, because I've always been that way. That is in my core. That is who I am. And I started to pay attention to how the women around me were like dressed. How they would do their hair. Some of them even cut their hair, because they was like, well, shit, because she cut her hair, and you damn right, because it's just hair to grow back. That wild, free spirit. I started to see it, and I honestly, I took it as flattery. I think what pissed me off was when it was like, when they would try to pick at me, because it was like, are you serious? Like, I'm seeing you. I'm seeing you. And like, you're projecting, but it's like, who swag? Who swag? Who swag did you carbon copy, baby? Like, really, sis? But hey, it is what it is. Being in isolation has really allowed me to sit with some things and get back to myself and get back to that little girl that just roamed free and, in her room and, wore whatever she wanted to wear. And, every time I'll get dressed, I'll ask my wife, like, how this look? She'd be like, baby, only you could pull that off. So now I am just learning how to show up as this Natasha. And I'll get back out there and hang out with my friends and my cousins. It just feels weird, because, like I said, like, once you know, you can't unknow. And I'm learning also too, boundaries. That's another thing that I'm learning, because I didn't have that. Like, if somebody needed me to show up for them, like, I just would, because out of my mom's children, I'm the oldest sister, and my mom relied on me a lot to do a lot. Like, and so that's just the way I showed up in every relationship. That's the way I showed up in every job, So, now I'm taking this time to, take care of me. And that feels weird. It feels uncomfortable. Like, I have to remind myself that I have to take care of myself first, like, first and foremost. And sometimes I have those moments where I want to, like, get myself involved in something just because it's like my body is going through withdrawals. And I also understand too, like, a lot of times when you are the fixer and the protector and want to worry about everybody else and fix all the broken birds around you, it's because you're avoiding dealing with you. And I have been dealing with me in isolation for some years now. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I like it here. And for as much money as I pay for this damn rent, I'm gonna keep my ass in the house. And do this and enjoy this damn rent. I couldn't even get it out. And enjoy this damn rent money. Shit. But I'll get out eventually. I will. But like, every time I see a video of some women loving on each other, like, I just cry. It's like, I miss that. I'll get back out there. My little invited me to a Cleo Soul concert last year, and that was lit. Like, I had such an amazing time with her, and I want to do it again. But the whole time, like, I was just in my head, like, am I being a good person? Am I saying the wrong thing? Like, because that was another thing too. Like, going through this journey, like, there was a lot of people that I had to cut ties with, because the healthy version of me was like, I was only bonding with you because I had a lot of trauma. We both had trauma. And once you start healing yourself and pulling, like, and stop repeating certain cycles and loops, like, you'll have to leave those people behind if they don't want to, get their self together. It's It's a lot. It calm down. It's a lot, and it can be lonely. And there's times where I think about stuff and I'll be like, yo, they really was playing in my face. But that version of me allowed it. Growing up in my family, I was not always respected. I wasn't. And my parents didn't do enough to like to check people that thought they could disrespect me. And I know that that's because my parents didn't, even respect me. Like my parents, they would, they would make fun of me. I would be the butt of their jokes. And I realized it's because people probably did it to them, and they were still carrying that energy. And you look at your kid, they're like you're responsible for them. They can't take care of themselves. Sometimes, most of the times, they're defenseless. So somebody got to get this off. Somebody got to get this work. Somebody got to get this energy. And so that's what my parents would do to me. And family thought it was okay to do the same thing. And even my friends would like see how my family would treat me, or see how I allow people to treat me. And so they was like, well, fuck it. And once I went through that journey, I was like, yeah, no, we not doing that. We not. Like, again, it's lonely. It's isolating because I'm still trying to get my fill and get back out there. And that is scary. That is really scary to like realize that, people didn't fuck with you in the same way that you fuck with them. And it hurt my feelings because it's like that's mean. And then, it makes me sad for them because it's like you're really dealing with a lot of hurt for you to be like that to somebody that, I'm not perfect, but I know that I'm a good person, and I know that I mean well. And I know that whenever I would catch myself doing something that was like offensive to somebody, like if I didn't directly apologize, I would change the behavior. So, and I feel like that's the best apology, because you can say sorry a bunch of times, but if you're still doing the same thing, is so I would change the behavior when I recognize that I did something wrong. But some of them friends was like, they're still in that space, and I'm good on that. But yeah, this is my my thoughts. Me being at home, my son and my wife out getting haircuts and running errands, and my wife giving me a break, and just, me enjoying this time. Yeah. Peace, y'all.